Hi guys, welcome back to my channel Lush Foliage. In today's video, we are going to be talking about this absolutely beautiful alocasia called as Alocasia Clypeolata. Also commonly called as the Alocasia green shield. It's because of this beautiful leaves that you see that tend to resemble a lot like a shield. Now guys, it's an absolutely easy to grow plant provided you give the basic care requirements which we are going to be talking in this video, starting off with light. Light is the most important thing for this plant. You have to offer a good amount of indirect bright light. You can either offer dappled sunlight, filtered light, or you can keep it under a green shade cloth. Please do not offer this plant direct sunlight, that will damage the plant. If you're going to offer too much of direct sunlight, then the leaves will start to turn lighter in color. Apart from that, the size of the leaves will also turn quite small. This is what I have read in the articles. Now you can see my leaf over here. It is slightly light green. The reason is because it is a new leaf. Over the period of time, it will harden and it will turn darker green in color. Now my plant gets a good amount of indirect bright light and it has been doing quite well. You can see the new leaf is bigger than the older leaves, which indicates that my plant is quite healthy. This is a very good point to notice whenever you are growing foliage plants. Whenever your foliage plant tends to put a larger leaf compared to the previous one, it indicates that your plant is well settled and it's quite happy in your garden. Talking about the soil mix, I have used coco peat, garden soil and sand because they prefer loose, porous and well draining soil. The soil should retain a slight amount of moisture but should not stay soggy wet. That's why you need to have a hole or a drain hole in your pot so that the excess water can drain out. The soil should maintain a slight moisture but not soggy wet. If the water is going to pool in the pot, then there could be a root rot, so you have to be extremely careful. This coco peat in this is going to retain that slight moisture. Garden soil is going to give the basic nutrients and the sand is going to make the soil mix well draining. So these are the components that you need to use. Perlite and pumice, it's optional. If you have it, you can use. If you do not have, it's absolutely okay. As you can see, my plant is doing quite well. I've kept it in indirect bright light. The watering that I'm providing it is whenever I see around 1 to 2 inches of the upper layer of soil is dry, I go ahead and do a complete watering until the water starts passing through the drain hole. Remember guys, these plants are tropical plants. They do not like to be sitting in a dry soil for a longer period of time. If you're going to keep the soil dry, then you'll start noticing a lot of yellowing of leaves and the leaves will start to fall off very easily when it is underwatered. So do a balanced watering, not too much, not too less. Again, your watering is going to change as per the season. During winters, you'll have to cut down on your watering. If you do not have any leaves on your alocasia, then please do not water, keep it aside. Now, I'm not very sure about this because I never experience wherein my alocasia drops all the leaves. There are a couple of leaves on my alocasia even during the winters because I do not experience extreme winters. So I do a very less watering. The frequency of watering is very less during the winters and I do not add any fertilizers because it all depends upon your location. If you are from a place wherein you have extreme winters, then most probably all the leaves of your alocasia will drop off, and if there is only a bulb left, do not add in too much water because you do not want to rot the bulb. I would say best is do not water the bulb, just leave it aside. Like how we tend to treat our caladiums, you can go with that same process, but I'm not very sure because if you're going to add too much of water, the bulb will get rotted because at that point of time the bulb is in its dormant period due to which it has dropped all the leaves. Now talking about propagation guys, please be very careful. You cannot propagate this plant only with the petiole. By cutting this off and putting it in water, it is not going to generate into a new plant. This plant is a kind of plant that tends to grow in a bunch. Over the period of time, it will have a lot of offshoots. The only way we can propagate this plant is by taking out the plant and doing a root division or by dividing the bulbs with the roots. That is one of the best method to propagate your green shield. Now talking about temperature and humidity, they prefer a good amount of humidity. Anything above 50 or 60% plus is going to work out really well. They are kind of warmer growing plants, or basically plants that tend to grow in a warmer environment. Anywhere between 20 degrees Celsius up to 34-35 degrees Celsius is going to work out really well. As I said, during the winters, it will slow down its growth. So this all depends upon your environment and climate. Talking about fertilizers, please do not add any fertilizers during the winter season. season, summer is the growing period, you can go with either once a month or once in 15 days, depending upon what kind of fertilizer you're using. You can go with any liquid based fertilizer, dilute and make a weak strength, because they are not a very heavy feeding plants. They will do quite well. During winters, my alocasia does not drop any leaves. That's a good sign. So I'm not very sure how it tends to work out for others who are from a very extreme climate. Now, talking about pest issues, this plant does get affected with spider mites. Mainly, mealybugs are very rare, but spider mites is one of the pests that tends to attack this plant. So always turn the leaves and check if you happen to see any kind of infestation. The moment you see, take care of it at the early stage, because the spider mite infestation can go really bad in a couple of weeks. So you have to be extremely careful. Once in 2 weeks, once in 3 weeks, checking of the leaves is going to work out really well and get rid of that pest at the early stage. Now, talking about, is this plant toxic? Yes, ingesting the leaves of Alocasia green shield can be quite toxic. So ensure you're keeping this plant away from the reach of small children and pets. Apart from that, guys, if you're going to follow all of these basic care tips, this plant is very, very easy. All you need to do is ensure that there is a even moisture in the soil, does not get direct sunlight, and there is a good amount of air circulation, and trust me, the plant is going to do quite well. Fertilizers, even if you do not add fertilizers, or you just give the basic banana peel fertilizer, or if you're going to put some waste tea leaves as well, it is going to work out really well. You do not need to do a heavy fertilizing of this plant. It does absolutely well in a regular potting mix as well, as long as the potting mix is well draining, loose and porous. So guys, that's all about it. It's an absolutely easy to grow plant. You can easily find it in your local nursery. You can easily find it in online. It's not a very expensive plant as compared to the other alocasias that are in the market. This is relatively quite cheaper. So guys, that's all about it. I hope that this video was helpful to you. If it was, please hit the like button, and if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing to it. Until then, take care, stay safe and keep planting.